In college football between Division II, Division III, and NAIA, there are currently 498 schools with a football program. I looked at every single school's football home stadium and found what I think are the top 25 weirdest ones. We'll start with the Division II fields. First, we have the Superior Dome, which is the only indoor stadium in Division II football. It's located in Marquette, Michigan, and this is the home of the University of Northern Michigan Wildcats football team. The stadium opened in 1991 and has a capacity of 8,000. It's located very close to Lake Superior, and being in northern Michigan, the winters can be very harsh, which makes it smart to have a dome. From the outside, this place looks very weird. It looks like a giant white bubble with spikes coming out of it. The entire dome curves down all the way to the ground other than the entrance doors. It looks cool with how close it is to the water. Another interesting thing is that it's currently the largest wooden dome in the world. Inside the stadium, it looks very similar to many of the FCS indoor stadiums in college football, in particular the Walk-Up Sky Dome in northern Arizona. There are two large bleachers going along the sidelines and typically not really any seats at the ends. The dome definitely has a very wooden feel to it, and there are some stuffed animals, including a moose, on display in the concourse. Overall, this is one of the most interesting college football stadiums in my opinion. Winston-Salem State is a Division II college in North Carolina. Their football team, the Rams, plays in Bowman Gray Stadium. It opened in 1938 and has a capacity of 17,000. That's pretty large for Division II. But the strange thing about this stadium is that it's actually also used as a racetrack. It's currently one of the tracks on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. The track is a quarter-mile oval, so it's pretty small for racing, and it goes around the football field. We've seen many running tracks around college football fields, but not a race car track, especially one that's currently in use. The seats are one large curving section that goes about halfway around the field. Because of the track, the seats seem sort of far away for football, but not too bad. Surrounding most of the stadium is a good amount of trees, which is nice. Division I football team Wake Forest also played there from 1956 to 1967. Gannon University is located in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the campus is located in the city with not a lot of space. In 2001, their athletic complex opened, which is home to the football team, but it's also home to the baseball team, softball team, soccer teams, and lacrosse teams. It's one giant field right in the city. It's all turf, and you can see the baseball and softball infields, which sort of go onto the football field and looks kind of confusing. There's a press box, but as for seats, it looks like there's hardly any at all. However, some temporary bleachers can be put in along the sidelines for football. They claim to have a seating capacity of 2,500, so it seems as though a lot of seats can be brought in. Overall, it's pretty nice the way that it's located right within the city and on campus. Up next is Henderson State University in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. They play in Carpenter Haywood Stadium. This is a field that appears to be built into the ground. It looks kind of like Grambling State's at the Division I level. There's a large bleachers at one sideline and a smaller one across from it on the other side. But the bleachers blend right into the ground, which inclines up from the field. There's a track around the field, which I think is a running track, but it kind of looks more like a car track. There are no running lanes in any of the pictures that I see, and I can't quite tell what the material it's made out of is. It's also cool how at one end of the field, they have grass that goes up in a large woods there. Lenoir-Rhyne has one of the coolest stadiums in Division II in my opinion. It's located in Hickory, North Carolina, and they play at Moretz Stadium, which opened in 1924. The capacity is 8,500, even though there are only 2,400 students that attend the school. The field is turf, and there's a large section of seats along the main sideline that runs for the entire length of the field. On the other sideline, there's another long stretch of seats, and there's even some seats at one end zone. Behind that is some campus buildings. And on the other side, the stadium is open, but has a scoreboard and woods behind it. All in all, I think this is one of the nicest stadiums in Division II football. Next is Northeastern State. Located in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, the Riverhawks play at Doc Wadley Stadium. It has a capacity of 8,300 and opened in 1964, but was renovated in 2005. This stadium looks really weird to me because of the main section of seats. It looks massive and goes up really high, and at the top is a press box. Then there are no other seats around the field at all besides a much more average looking bleachers, which is tiny compared to the main one. I would describe it as lopsided, and it used to be even more lopsided as you can see. Surrounding the stadium is mostly parking lots and some campus buildings in the distance. From Northeastern State in Oklahoma, we go to Northwestern Oklahoma State in Alva, Oklahoma. Here's another stadium that is sort of built into the ground, and these are always interesting. This stadium is called Ranger Field and has a capacity of 6,000 and opened in 1969. The design is kind of a bowl, with the entire turf area of the field and around it at the bottom of the bowl. Then comes the grass hills and the two seating sections along the sideline that blend in with the grass. One end of the field, there's not really a hill but a building. There's parking for 600 cars next to the stadium, and it has tiered parking spaces so that fans can have a view of the action while they tailgate. And that's similar to the next school, which is the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. They play at O'Hara Stadium in Rapid City, South Dakota. This stadium is like a drive-in theater except for sports. At a glance, the stadium looks pretty average. There's a turf field with a track around it and one main section of seats. But behind that, there are 3 levels of parking areas for cars that overlook the stadium. There are 350 parking spaces in total that face the field, where you can drive up and watch the game from inside your car. This was added because there was a natural horseshoe bowl of land around the field, so they graded the 3 terraces into banks. I'm not sure if when something exciting happens or if the home team is on defense, everybody honks their horns in their cars instead of clapping or cheering. But if you want to watch the game in person, they do have a pretty good-sized grandstand as well. This stadium opened in 1938 and has a capacity of 3,500 stadium seats, and then of course the 350 parking spaces as well. Bemidji State University in Bemidji, Minnesota plays at Chet Anderson Stadium. The Chet opened in 1940 and has a capacity of 5,000. I think this is one of the nicest looking stadiums in Division II. The most interesting thing is probably just how close it's located to the water, which is Lake Bemidji. It looks like you could kick a field goal at one end of the field that would go into the water. The field itself is turf and has 2 pretty basic sections of seats along the sidelines. Aside from the water, the stadium is surrounded by the school campus, which looks pretty nice. Bluefield State University and Bluefield University each play at Mitchell Stadium in Bluefield, West Virginia. I should mention that Bluefield High School also plays here as well. Bluefield State University is a Division II school, and Bluefield University is an NAIA school. But in my opinion, they really missed a golden opportunity to have a blue field. Instead, they play on a field that has green turf and red end zones. The red color is actually because of the high school team, it seems. Bluefield State's colors are blue and gold, and Bluefield University's colors are blue and red, but the red is not the same shade as the end zones. Overall, I'm confused by this point. But of all the Bluefield schools that play here, the colors most closely match with the high schools. I think they should all be a bright blue color, and they should take notes from Livingstone College, which we will talk about in a bit. But anyways, this stadium for high school is amazing, and it's been voted as the best high school stadium. For college, it's also pretty cool, and it looks like they built it into a hill in the middle of the woods. There are 2 large sort of curving sections of seats along the sidelines. Surrounding the stadium, the landscape looks very cool. The capacity is 10,000 and it opened in 1936. The Albany State Golden Rams play at Albany State University Coliseum. It opened in 2004 and has a capacity of 10,000, which is a decent amount for Division II. This stadium is another one that reminds me a lot of Division I Grambling State University. It looks like it was built into the ground, with the seats blending into the grass surrounding the playing field. But another very interesting thing is recently Albany State got a turf field, and the turf is blue. It has yellow end zones, which fit with the school colors of blue and yellow. Between the grassy hills surrounding the field and the playing surface, this is one of the more interesting current stadiums in college football. While we're talking about interesting turf colors, let's go through all the other ones. There are a number of Division II and Division III stadiums with odd-colored turf. For some of them, that's really the only strange thing about the stadium, so we'll go through those fairly quick. First, we'll talk about the rest of the Division II stadiums. Clark Atlanta University is a Division II college in Atlanta, Georgia. They play in Panther Stadium, a 5,000-seat facility, and as you can see, they have bright red turf. This is similar to the Division I stadium of Eastern Washington. It's a bright red that can be hard on the eyes. On one side of the field there's a very large bleachers, and on the other side is just grass, with a slight incline and some of the campus buildings behind it. There's also a running track, and the stadium seems to be tightly fit within the campus and surrounding city. Livingstone College is a Division II school in North Carolina, and the football team plays at Alumni Memorial Stadium. As you can see, the field is a very interesting light blue color. There isn't that much seats, but they do have two long bleachers along the sidelines that are also the same light blue color. Then there's a dark colored track, which I can't tell if it's black or if it's navy blue. But overall, I've never seen a field that color before until now, and I think it looks very fresh. Next, we will talk about the Division III stadiums, and start by continuing on with the stadiums with different colored turf. First, for Division III, we have Luther College. The home of the Norse, they have a 5,000-seat stadium called Carlson Stadium, which opened in 1969. The stadium is located in Decorah, Iowa, and the dark blue turf field has a light blue track surrounding it. There's really just one giant bleachers at one side of the field, and then they have two tiny ones on the other side. There's a lot of blue going on, and it's a nice touch that they matched the roof of this building to the track. I also think it's cool how the large bleachers goes above the woods and also up the hill. Then at the top, it blends in with one of the buildings on campus. The Division III school Marietta College plays at Don Drum Stadium in Marietta, Ohio. As you can see, the field is two different shades of gray and then has navy blue as well. There's a running track around the field, and the stadium capacity is around 5,000. It first opened in 1916 and has a pretty standard seating setup overall. McMurray University in Abilene, Texas plays at Wilford Moore Stadium. The capacity is 3,550 and it opened in 1937. The field turf is colored both gray and red. This interesting color combination is the school's colors and was added in 2025. Aside from that, the stadium is pretty normal with the seats and surroundings. SUNY Morrisville in Morrisville, New York is a Division III college, and as you can see, they have black turf. The stadium is called Drake Field and is shared by 6 different athletic teams, including football. That's why at times you can see all these other lines aside from just the football ones on the field. The field has one main grandstand on the sidelines, and it also has some press boxes, which is nice. Aside from that though, there's literally no other seats and mostly just grass. When I see the black turf, I would think that it might attract a lot of heat, which might make it tough to play on, and SUNY Morrisville also has black jerseys. When asked why they put black turf on the field, SUNY Morrisville said, "Why not?" I suppose though during the football season in New York, most of the time it's probably not too hot. University of New England has a very interesting football stadium. They play at Blue Storm Stadium in Maine, which they clearly seem to share with the softball team. Also, the turf is blue, which is interesting enough. But I just think it looks really weird how the softball field just kind of morphs into the football field. In case you're wondering, this is how the softball field looks when in use. The temporary fence goes right over the football field, and you can still see the yard lines and stuff. There's one giant grandstand at the sideline of the football field, which holds 1,600 people. But I have to say, for a softball game, these are not very good seats. And looking at the softball field, I don't see any bleachers behind home plate at all, which is kind of strange. Here I found one picture of small bleachers there. The whole complex opened in 2018, and I also think it's really cool how it's surrounded by woods. Up next is Hassan University in Bangor, Maine. Similarly to the University of New England, it's also in Maine, but it also appears to share with the baseball team. The field is turf, and it looks kind of confusing, but you can see the baseball infield on the football field. This is the more traditional setup, and you would see this a lot back in the day when MLB and NFL teams shared a stadium. Thankfully, the infield here is not actual dirt, but just a different color carpet. It also shows just how far it is to hit a home run to left field. You're basically hitting the ball the entire length of the football field and then some. They also have a lot of open space behind one sideline, which could possibly be used to have temporary seats put in there, but I don't see any pictures where they do that. Another thing that I find interesting here is the seats that they do have. The seats are more so set up for baseball than for football. There's no large bleachers along the sidelines. Instead, they have seats behind home plate for baseball, which is just in a random corner of the football field and then on the end. But thankfully, they do reach pretty far down and extend just past the 50-yard line with a press box above that. The stadium is called Dr. John W. Winkin Sports Complex. It has a capacity of 3,000 and is also the home of field hockey. The next field is even more confusing. North Park University plays here, and the stadium is called Holmgren Athletic Complex, located in Chicago, Illinois. This complex is home to football, baseball, softball, and soccer. It's weird because when you look at it, you can't really tell what's going on. The football field is not lined up at all with anything, and it fits sort of diagonal in the complex. I think they did this so that there would be no parts of the infield for baseball or softball on the football field. As you can see, they both come very close, but don't actually go on the field. Overall, it just looks very confusing with all the angles and different fields all colliding together. There's one large bleachers going along the football sidelines, and the capacity is 3,000. The complex opened in 2004, and aside from the weirdness, it looks pretty nice. Next, we have Hartwick College, which plays at Wright Stadium in Oneonta, New York. This stadium opened in 2006, and it looks like it was built into the side of a mountain. You can see all the trees and land going up on one side of the field. Then on the other, you can see how it goes down, and there's a parking lot below. The field is turf, and it really just has one grandstand along the main sideline, kind of going down into the ground. Another strange thing that gets mentioned about this place is there's not much space surrounding the field. As you can see, the sidelines and the back of the end zones are not very large, and it's hard to tell, but there's a road going up above the field behind the trees. This is what it looks like to drive down it, which is pretty cool to notice the football field down below. Salve Regina University plays at Tapa Field, which opened in 1992. It's located in Newport, Rhode Island, and as you can see, it's another football/softball field. There are two softball fields in the facility, it seems, one at each corner. Part of one softball infield goes into the end zone of the football field. There's a pretty large section of seats along the sideline. On the other sideline, there's a ton of open space. I wonder what it is about the Northeast where they love to combine football fields with baseball and softball. The final Division III stadium that we will look at is the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater in Whitewater, Wisconsin. This stadium is weird mainly because of how nice it is and how big it is for Division III. In fact, it's the largest current Division III stadium. They deserve it though because Whitewater is consistently one of the best Division III football programs. The Warhawks play at Perkins Field, which opened in 1970 and has a capacity of over 13,000. In 2023, they set the record for the largest crowd at a Division III football game at 20,113 fans. The only crowd larger at a D3 game happened when there was a game at Target Field in Minneapolis. Aside from the size though, this stadium also kind of looks like it was built into the ground. Woods surround it at several angles, and overall the stadium is extremely nice. Finally, we will talk about NAIA stadiums. There are only two of them on the list, aside from the Bluefield University one. Lindenwood University Belleville played at Lindenwood Stadium in Belleville, Illinois. This stadium is not actually in use anymore, but I thought I would still include it in the video because of how weird it is. As you can see, they have gray and red colored turf. This is somewhat like the McMurray University field that we talked about earlier. They have seats on one sideline and then also seats at both end zones, which is interesting. Unfortunately, Lindenwood closed their Belleville campus in 2020. The field is still there, but not currently in use by a college team anymore. Lindenwood still has their St. Charles, Missouri campus, which is not too far away, and they have a pretty nice stadium, but sadly, the gray and red field is closed. The final stadium that we will look at in this video is Jerome Berg Field, the home of Mayville State University in Mayville, North Dakota. This is like the football version of the Field of Dreams. It appears to be located in the middle of a cornfield, and if you look at the aerial view, it's located right next to a ton of farmland. The Comets have a turf field, which is kind of built into the ground, and it looks to be in great shape. There's a small but long section of seats on one sideline and a tiny section on the other sideline. Surrounding it all is just trees and corn. The stadium is at the very top right corner of Mayville, which is a small city northwest of Fargo. Overall, it's a very interesting stadium. If you go to any of these colleges, please leave a comment and let us know what it's like to go to a game at one of these stadiums. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.